Howdy, my name is Good Guy Mike to my YouTube channel. Welcome to the forest. So, if you guys are watching this, then you probably decided to join the thousands of people who decided to take their little son Timmy on an airplane ride, which then ended terribly and stranded them out in the forest. If that is the case, you're about to have yourself a fantastic time, and congratulations. But not all is well that ends well unless you take care of yourself and you know what to do. So, this tutorial is going to give you the basics of how to survive in this hostile environment and make sure that you can find your bright little kicking baby boy before too long. I hope you guys enjoy, because let's get into it. Alright, so if you're seeing this little screen right here, it means you're one of the lucky 1% that managed to survive this hellacious plane crash. Pat yourself on the back, but not too hard, because things only get tougher from here. So this game can be likened to a handful of things, one of which is hoarding in the forest. So what you're going to want to do is grab everything. I repeat, everything that can move and you can take on this plane, because it is going to set you up for a successful go before you get started. Booze, food trays, pills, everything. Go ahead, look in there, eat these TV dinners because they're going to provide you food, grab candy bars off the ground, and most importantly, make sure you grab this here axe that is sticking in this poor student's chest. Then what you're going to do is you're going to hop off the plane, make sure that you grab everything off of the inside of the plane first because it gets complicated to get back in. So, go ahead, start grabbing everything. I mean everything. Rocks, sticks, make sure you come up to these chests, hit them with your axe. Alright, they'll pop open and you can grab things from inside them. Cloth and candy bars. Candy bars, you have a limited amount of numbers you can carry. Cloth, you do not. So, hoard it because it's going to be super useful for a lot of things. Now, once you feel comfortable with the amount of stuff that you've collected, you can look at your inventory by hitting I, which will bring up this tarp here so you can combine things, and you can also hit B to bring up your survival guide. This is your Bible while you are in this foreign land, as it contains literally everything that you can do. Over on this little check mark here, it gives you your to-do list, find Timmy and set up camp, and over here it tells you statistics about your body. As you can see, we've currently survived 0 days, and we have 0 armor and 0 cold armor. Let's see if we can't get that doing better. Then on these green tabs are the things that you can build. We're not going to worry about those at the moment because we need to find an actual suitable place to survive before we start surviving. Alright, go ahead, put away your to-do list and make sure you gather everything from around the crash site. Alright, so you've gathered everything from the crash site. I know what you're thinking. Hey, Good Guy Mike, this place seems pretty nice. Why don't we just set up here? We could set up a little camp inside of here. It'd all be great. Well, I'm here to tell you that's a terrible, terrible idea because this crash site attracts many, many cannibals once it is nighttime. That said, it's not a bad idea to keep tabs on where this is at. So, hit B. This is a step that a lot of people miss. Go shelters, go food, go storage, storage again, custom buildings. Over in custom buildings, you can find this, the stick marker. Go ahead and build this. It's going to take a cloth and a few stone. Not anything too big, but it's going to put a marker where this is at. That way you can track wherever the crash is, because you will want to come back to the crash site eventually, as well as it is nice to have a little marker of points of interest for when you get into a more advanced survival. Now that you have yourself a little spot, you are going to start running into the forest, okay? Just pick a direction, start running. But we're going to be looking for the optimal survival area, so let's go. Alright, while you're running through the forest looking for your base, you should be keeping your eye out for 2 things in particular. First, the presence of the pond, and the second, the absence of an actual village nearby. Now, it's going to be tempting to want to build near a village because it looks cool and has things set up around it, but that is going to have a lot of savages very quickly. Do not build near the ocean because do not be fooled, the ocean is saltwater and you cannot drink it. That said, sometimes there are cool things like this around the ocean, and it's not a bad idea to go to the ocean so you can wash off real quick. Alright, inevitably when you're running around searching for a good spot to find, you're probably going to run into a little village like this. Now, be careful when you enter it, but most of the time on the first day, you don't really have anything to worry about, and it's a great place to get some starter resources for more advanced items such as bombs, or thatched buildings that are up in trees. Now, if you come up to this, there's several places that you're going to want to look. First is up at the top of these areas, because there tends to be rope hanging from the tops of one of them. Second place you're going to want to look is out behind them, because that will oftentimes have computers behind them. Like this one right here, computers can be broken with your axe to make bombs so you can get chips. Little clothes wires so that you can get extra cloth. And finally, you're going to want to look for the different skull idols that they have sitting around their places, because skulls are very useful when you're trying to survive. You can use them to make an advanced club that does more damage than your little axe. Once you have a skull in your inventory, along with some sticks, you're going to combine them. So left click to, or right click to combine a stick with a skull, and you have yourself a crafted club. This does more damage, it swings a little bit slower, but it's going to be your key to holding off the savages and killing basic animals. Alright, now that you've found yourself a little fort and you feel more comfortable with an actual weapon to defend yourself, let's head back out into the forest. Alright, so here's the other points of interest that you may find as you're running through the wilderness. Tents and stuff like that. Now, as a word of caution, tents and other structures tend to have savages around them. So, as you go investigate, keep your eyes out so that you do not get jumped. Once again, during the first day, you shouldn't have a whole lot to worry about, but it's not very long before these places are going to get swarmed by areas, so it's not a good idea to hang out around these places to build a base. That said, go investigate for rare loot, because you're going to need certain things like this pot right here to make more advanced items, as well as sometimes they have maps and cooler things, as well as you can go up to the water and get yourself a little refreshing drink. Alright, so here comes our first little lesson with wildlife. Lizards, you want to kill them for two reasons. First, they provide food, and second, they provide armor. What you're going to do once you hit them with your club or your axe is you're going to hold E, that's going to peel off their skin, then pick E again. Leave the head. It's for decoration and not necessary right now, as well as it takes up your hand space, which you do not want to have busy in case you have to fight some savages. Go into your inventory, and over on the right side you'll find yourself some lizard skin. Click it to increase armor. As you can see, it didn't add a whole lot of armor onto us, but we're not going to worry about that because we're going to get some better armor later. It's just sort of a stand-in right now and sort of a comfort barrier for when we inevitably get in a fight with some of the savages. Speaking of which, it's time for us to talk about those little red and blue bars in the bottom right-hand corner. So, that is your stamina and your health. Health is on the left side, stamina is on the right side. Now, the bigger, darker blue bar on the right side is your energy. Your stamina is capped by your energy. Your energy can be increased by mixing herbal supplements, as well as it can be increased by eating good food and drinking different sodas and stuff like that. The health will be increased by meds and herbal supplements that you can mix up, as well as there's the little spotted bar outside of it will turn yellow or orange depending on if you're wearing heat armor or damage resistant armor. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's continue searching for our base. Alright, so while you're out on your little adventures, you're going to undoubtedly come across little plants that are like these. These are herbs and will be used to make energy mixes as well as health mixes, and are super useful. What you're going to want to do is not hit them with your club, but actually press E to collect them. You'll see that they pop up in your inventory down in the bottom left. There's 4 different types of herbs currently in the game. There's the chicory, the marigold, the aloe, and one more that is the coneflower. Coneflower and chicory mix to make an energy mix, and marigold and aloe mix to make a health mix. How you mix them is you right-click combined on the 2 different flowers you want to mix, and then right-click to combine again, and it makes a med mix. You're going to want to collect as many of these herbs as you can, because they give you not only herbs that you use to make the medicines, as well as seeds that will be used to build your farm. Alright, so this is a worst case scenario. Say you've been out searching during the day and you couldn't find a good spot that you wanted to call your home during that first day. I recommend sleeping rather than trying to search through the night, as the night is when the most cannibals come out. So what you're going to want to do is go to your shelter list, click temporary shelter, and build this. You're not going to want to build this for your actual base, but it works well for a momentary respite from the elements. Leaves are got from breaking little plants, and sticks are got from breaking these sapling trees like this, as well as they sit on the ground. You're going to want to make sure you have about 14 of them. You can only carry 10 sticks at a time. So once you have all that you need, first thing you're going to do is hold C to save, and then hold Z to sleep. Now, when you wake up, it will be day again, but you will also be very hungry and very thirsty. Don't be shy about going into your inventory and eating the chocolate bars that you got from the plane or the sodas. If you did not get chocolate bars and sodas from the plane, or you've ran out of them, a quick way to get some food is some berries. Now, to tell which berries you can and cannot eat, hit B to open your survival guide, go to the red tab, go over to foraging, and it will tell you which ones are edible and which ones are toxic. If they're not on this list, as a good rule of thumb, you probably shouldn't eat them, because there are berries such as the white ones on this island that are not on this list. I would recommend not eating them until you are well established and can experiment with your health in these situations. I'm going to keep going around to find myself a good spot to call home. Alright, so I found myself a nice little home away from home while I'm trying to survive against these zombie cannibals that are raiding the island. It has everything that I mentioned earlier, a nice little freshwater pond that I can drink out of as well as I can get fish out of, and no monster bases anywhere nearby. That is a double combo that's going to set you up for success. Now, regardless, zombie cannibals are going to eventually come and bother you while you're at your base as the game progresses, but being in a setup location and a location that has all the necessary amenities is going to make things a lot easier. So, once you find yourself a nice little area that you like, it's time to get started setting up. First things first, hit B to go to your fire and build a fire pit. We're going to replace this as soon as possible with an actual drying rack, as they're much more efficient for getting food, but in the meantime, this will have to do. Go ahead and get to the sticks and everything that you need, and I'll bring you back in once I have all that stuff. Alright, so remember what I said, it was only a matter of time until you ran into some cannibals? Well, here they are. It is not a good idea to let these guys escape. Now, combat is based off of this. Strike first and swing to the right. You want to strafe out of their way, and you want to make sure that they're actually dead. They're not dead until they show an E above their chests. Keep your eyes out. You don't want to let any of them escape, otherwise they're going to bring back more people. Unfortunately, one of them escaped while I was talking, but that said, we're actually going to get this guy, pick this guy up, and bring him over to where our fire pit was at, because we're going to use him to make armor here in a little bit. Go ahead, press G to drop him. I'll put everything else on the fire. Now, once you have the fire, go ahead, press E to light it. Now, this is the thing that people often don't realize. We can make bone armor, which is the best armor in the game, using these dead bodies. So what you're going to do is go up to the fire and press G to drop him onto the fire. He's going to catch fire, so be careful not to get lit on fire by him. But while we're waiting for him to burn, we're actually going to cook up some lizards as well. Go up to the fire with a lizard in your hand, hit C, and then it's going to take a couple seconds to cook up. Alright, so our lizard is nice and cooked, as well as our cannibal just cooked up. So, go up to the fire, hit E. You can eat the food at any point, but if you leave it on there too long, it is going to burn to a crisp. Now we have a bunch of these bones, and you're wondering, how do we use those to make bone armor? Well, if you go into your inventory, you can click on 3 pieces of cloth, so 1, 2, 3, and then fill in the rest with bones. There we have a bone armor. Take it off there, left click to wear, and as you can see, it jumped the amount of armor we had immensely, as well as it actually looks pretty cool. Now, armor will lay on top of itself, so we don't have to worry about that too much, but while we're waiting for the rest of these cannibals to show up that I accidentally let go, let's get started on the next building. The next building that you should build after the fire is not a basic hunting shelter, no. In fact, it is a log sled. The log sled is the most overlooked item in this game, but it is one of the most useful. It cuts the amount of time that you're going to spend running back and forth between trees hugely, as well as you eventually build, or as you tear down the trees around your base, they're going to get further and further away, so it's more and more important to have an actual carrying ability so that you're not running only 2 logs, because the log sled can carry about 12 logs at a time, while you personally can only carry 2. So that's going to make the amount of time that you spend running out and grabbing supplies much, much quicker. Alright, so I have my log sled completed, which means it is now time to start gathering logs onto this log sled so I can build my first little house. Now, you can build yourself a crafted axe in your inventory, but honestly, the plain axe probably works just as fine. I personally have not found any negative downsides to using this. Some people think that it's a little bit slower, but honestly, I can't tell the difference. And just having an extra tool in your inventory sometimes makes it more confusing. So, the key to chopping trees is you want to make sure that your stamina bar on the right stays as high as possible. If that stamina bar gets too low, the amount of effort you do on the tree is lowered by a lot. So you're going to go ahead, pick up these logs that get dropped, go up to your log sled, press C to deposit them, and then move the log sled to the next tree. As you can see, this is going to be super useful when you're further away. So we're going to go ahead, bring it next to these trees. Once we get this log sled all filled up, we'll actually start building our first base. Okay, so we got our log sled loaded up, which means that we have a decent start to our base. So we're going to bring it back over here, and remember, it tends to be a good idea to build or chop the trees down in a circular pattern around your base, clearing yourself a nice open area so that you can spot enemies sooner. If you have a bunch of trees around your area, it's going to be harder to spot enemies and increases the likelihood that you're going to get jumped by them. Alright, so once again, bring out your to-do list, go to shelters, skip these temporary shelters and the hunting shelters and go right for the small cabin. Now, you're going to want to rotate it so that it's facing the fire, just for looks sake. I prefer it that way. The front side is not the side without the big square thing open. It is the other side. Hit E to plan it out and start picking up your logs and depositing them. Now, a full sled is going to leave you just too short of a full house, so just run over to the nearest tree. You don't even need to bring the log sled with you, and chop it down and add the first two that drop to your house, add the second two onto your log sled so that you have them for when you build other things. And just like that, we have ourselves our first sled. Immediately go inside, press C to save. Alright guys, now from here it's kind of a little bit of free form of what you want to do. You can either go out and immediately start exploring and searching for savages to fight, or you could go and build some more. I recommend building a drying rack and then building some planters immediately. Planters are super useful because you can use them to plant seeds and then grow your own herbs. And the drying rack is super useful because it allows you to prepare for food so that you don't have to cook it on the fire. Because I find personally that the fire is one of the most annoying things, as well it's very dangerous because if you accidentally step on it, you can light yourself on fire and kill yourself or burn off your armor, neither of which are good. So, I hope you enjoyed this little basic tutorial. It gives you all the information you needed to survive in the wild. Press that like button. I really do appreciate it. Go ahead, check out our series. This is all information that I have accrued through playing the forest all by myself, and that I've found are the best practices for surviving the early game, which can be rather threatening and daunting for the new player, especially not knowing how to make good armor, because you can constantly get your butt kicked by savages, which can be frustrating and cause people to leave the game. So, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button. Anyways, you guys, keep being you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Take it easy. Bye!